Hello people, today we're going to talk about wide-angle lenses. Wide-angle photography, for me, it's all about being close to the subject, but still being able to see the environment and tell a whole story of foreground, middle ground, background, and have one picture that encapsulates everything. That's why I love wide-angle photography. Now, I would call wide-angle anything up to about 23 millimeter, which is the equivalent of about 35 millimeter in 35 millimeter format. That's what I would call 23 and below on the Fujifilm. That's what I'm kind of classifying as a wide angle. And for the Fujifilm X system, we are super spoiled. I think there's something like 6 or 7 primes that are wide angle, and there's at least, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 zooms or something that are all sort of start the zoom range in the wide angle area. I'm not going to go through all of them because I don't use all of them. These 4, that's what I use. This is my arsenal right now of wide angle lenses. Let's start with my favorite. Let's start with the best one. The best of all of them, in my opinion, the 16 millimeter 1.4. And why is it on the camera? It's because it never leaves my camera. So naturally, it has not left my camera. It's on the camera all the time. This always has to be on one of my bodies all the time. I love this lens. It's not only my favorite wide-angle lens, it's the best lens for my Fujifilm cameras, period. Absolutely my favorite. Brilliant lens. It's 1.4, super important. The contrast, the clarity, everything is just spot on. It's just awesome. And I've used this now for 5 years, and recently I was fortunate enough to be asked to be featured in a Fujifilm promotion movie about this classic, wonderful lens. I'm going to include a little bit of it here, but there's a link where you can watch the whole thing, the link down in the description. And essentially, I've made, in those 5 years, more than 50% of all the pictures I've ever made with this one lens. So it doesn't really need a lot more introduction. This is, in my opinion, the best wide-angle lens. The next one is this small little fella. It's the 23 millimeter f2. There's also a really, really awesome 1.4 version of this, but I like this tiny f2 version because it's so small and cute, and it fits in my bag very, very easily. And I don't use this lens all that much because I love the 16. But there are just some cases where perhaps I cannot get quite close enough to do the composition that I want to do with a 16. And in that case, it becomes very distant if I don't get a lens that sort of is slightly less extreme. And that's the 23. It's the perfect sort of alternative. It is really the fallback plan if I cannot get close enough to do my 16 work. The 23 takes over. And then there's a second thing about this particular 23 millimeter, which is that it flares like crazy. I don't think it's supposed to flare like this, so I don't think you can replicate it. This is a pre-production model, the ones that Fujifilm use and send out for testing. And I don't know if the coating is kind of screwed, or maybe it doesn't even have coating, or I don't know. It flares like mad, and I totally love this. This is like the special pre-production flare version of the f2. That's the 23. Next up is another lens that I always have on me for shows. It's the Samyang fisheye. It's another tiny little fella, but this little fella with a big sort of ball of round glass in front will paint almost a 180-degree view of the scene in front of me. So obviously there are some scenes where this is like the only option for capturing. You can literally stand right behind a band or right in front of a band, and I can still get the entire scene. In this classic picture, I'm standing right behind the guitarist, and this is just the type of lens that, again, I don't use it all that often. Like the 16 is kind of my go-to all-around wide-angle lens. But there are just some times where it's just nowhere near wide enough. There's a huge difference between the field of view of this which I think it's probably roughly like 90 degrees or something, to this, which is double, is like 180 degrees. And you can straighten it out a bit later in post-production in different software. And that's quite nice because it's a bit extreme and you might need to crop it a bit as well, but it's still awesome because what you capture with this, nothing else can do it. And that's why I love this little Samyang manual focus fisheye. Now for the final one, the beast, this big hunk of glass, the 8 to 16 millimeter Fujinon ultra wide angle zoom. Now this is just a complete marvel of technical construction. This lens is 2.8, it is incredible quality, and it's also, I think it's called rectilinear. So that means that basically even at 8 millimeter it will paint a picture on the sensor where every single line is completely straight, 90 degrees. And that obviously makes it really well suited for architecture or cityscapes or shots of venues. And that also means that it's not really a style that I find suited for the type of concert photography where I'm sort of close to a band and I have band members, because the way it paints this rectilinear picture is just sort of contrary to how I want my concert photography to look. Of course, in order to map the 3D world in front of me onto a completely rectilinear picture, it does kind of, you get the sides kind of pulled right up to you and the center pushed a little bit away. And I'm actually interested in the reverse effect. If I have a singer here, I like the singer to be there and then the sides kind of pushed back, and I don't really care that it gets round, which it does with a fisheye. But I use this for something else. All of my commercial event photography, which is a different genre altogether, I use this all the time, because for this type of photography, there's just nothing like this. I could be outside, there's big fireworks, I have to be able to capture the entire scene. I could be inside a cinema, a big beautiful cinema, and of course, in these cases, I want a picture that's actually straight and beautiful. This is basically, it's like you're shooting the venue, you're shooting architecture really, in all these type of pictures, whether it's a cinema, big fireworks, big light displays, or fashion show with big sort of beautiful lighting and everything. To capture all of these type of pictures, this particular lens is just gold. It's just the one I use all the time. So that's for my event photography. And these three nice little compact fellas, that's for my concert photography. And sometimes if I'm going super light and I kind of know what I need at a concert, I will just take this. Like, that's the one go-to wide angle lens for me. That is always number one, the best, 16, 1.4. You need it, you have to buy it. I tell you, it is the best. In my opinion anyway. We are literally spoiled for choice. I'm just gonna end with a nice gallery, because that's what it's all about. All the pictures, all the moments where I managed to do what I want to do with wide angle is put me right in the middle of the action, and put you right in the middle of the action, and make you feel the entire environment, everything that's going on, but also with a very clearly defined subject. And for me, that's what makes wide angle photography so much fun, because you have to really work it. For me, wide angle photography, it's about getting close. See you next time.